Senior Bowl is officially in the rearview mirror, so let's do some good old fun prospect rankings. And we're going to start with the most important position in the NFL, the quarterback position. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. If you want my top 20, I'm gonna put that out on Twitter for y'all, but you could always check out my full prospect rankings on the Patreon, links in the description. Let's go ahead, get into this sucker with Max Duggan at number 10. And he actually had a hell of a college football season last year, leading TCU to the Natty. But we don't talk about what happened in the Natty. Let's just say Max Duggan now, he has a fear of Bulldogs. Just saying. But Max Duggan, 6'1", 204, and honestly, he had a really good, I would say a pretty solid Senior Bowl. Now, we came into the Senior Bowl, and for all intents and purposes, all the quarterbacks there were day three. They just were. But he managed to stand out during the practices. At first, you could kind of see the learning curve when it came to more complex calls. And I really thought he was getting better throughout the practices with that. You saw him get more comfortable, and especially in the scrimmages. I thought he looked pretty good in the scrimmages. The game was kind of whatever for him. It wasn't that impressive. But all in all, man, I think a late day 3 grade is a fair grade for Max Duggan. Is a cat that honestly has quite a bit of experience. He was out of the 4-star recruit out of the 2019 class. He was recruited by a lot of powerhouses. Georgia, what could have been? Ohio State and Penn State. Played all 12 games as a freshman, and then he started started the final 10 games in that season. In 2020, he started 9 out of 10 games, but he missed one game because of a heart condition that will need to be checked out. That's kind of going to be the red flag here when it comes to Duggan. It's like, okay, what exactly was that heart condition? But obviously it didn't really play a part or at least it didn't really come up the last 2 seasons. He battled through a foot injury through most of 2021, but still managed to start 10 games. Then obviously, he led this majestic season for the Horned Frogs. All hail the Hypno-Toad. Now, who is Max Duggan as a prospect? Well, he's shown good improvement every year, so that's a plus. He's a dual threat, though in the NFL, he's not exactly gonna be a guy that can use his legs consistently to pick up yards on the ground, but he could definitely extend plays. I would say he's got an average NFL arm. He's got decent zip on the short to intermediate passes. Does a good job at setting his feet before he throws, and even outside of structure, he does a good job of that, and he's willing to take a hit, deliver a ball, and honestly, he plays with good technique, plays with good mechanics, but when it comes down to it, his ball placement's kind of wishy-washy. The arm, the further you go downfield, the more the ball sails. I don't think he's a guy that consistently throws with touch. He can be late on passes and doesn't always play with good anticipation. And I think that was apparent during Senior Bowl week. And at the end of the day, I think he's a very good college quarterback that put it all together in his final season, who just offers minimal upside. That's just kind of what Max Duggan is at the end of the day, at least in my opinion. All right, number 9, I have Aiden O'Connell out of Purdue. Played at the Shrine Bowl and did all right, honestly. He's the most risk taker. He was the most risk taken, I guess, quarterback there at the Shrine Bowl. He doesn't show fear when throwing the football, I'll say that. He's wanted to throw the ball in sometimes places he shouldn't throw, but he was really the only guy that was really looking for the big play. Coming in here weighing 6'3", 212. He's out of the 2017 class. He was an unranked recruit. Walked on there at Purdue, didn't appear in a game until 2019, where he made 3 starts, and then in the shortened 2020 season, he made another 3 starts before having a season-ending foot injury. And then he in 2021, he played in the first 3 games, then started versus Minnesota. Really never looked back. The guy was a starter ever since, and shoot, he led the Boilermakers to the Big Ten championship game where they lost to Michigan. I mean, kind of was a foregone conclusion, but hey, man, I like the moxie. I like the grit. Like I feels like your team's never quite out of the game with O'Connell there at quarterback. He's shown very good timing. He's shown accuracy, and he just doesn't always put the ball on the money, but he will give his receivers a chance to make a play after the catch. Like, he compensates for his lack of arm strength with just really good anticipation. If you go back to like 2021, man, this cat was making big time throw after big time throw. He likes to test downfield. I think he had 27 big time throws on passes of 20 plus yards. He goes through his progressions quickly, consistently makes the right decisions on the short to intermediate balls. Where he really gets in trouble is sometimes down the field. He can extend plays with his legs. And to be fair, I mean, like I say to be fair, but I mean, also on top of that, like, coaches just love this guy. Teammates just love this guy. They rave about the leadership. They rave about the work ethic, man. This guy's got grit. He's got moxie. Going from former walk-on to climbing up the depth chart and just taking hold of the reins. And now we're talking about him as an NFL prospect, man. Good on you, O'Connell. Now, again, doesn't have a strong arm. Really has to compensate that with timing and precision. Still, he will never be the guy who can consistently push the ball downfield for an offense, but you don't necessarily have to be that. But there are times under pressure where he just goes into hero ball mode. And honestly, in 2021, it was for the better. In 2022, it was kind of for the worse. We saw a ton of turnover-worthy plays from him this season. I believe it was 25 turnover-worthy plays this past season for O'Connell. And there are just times where he'll miss defenders underneath, or he'll miss guys over the top, and interception. Only had 13 this year. Isn't nearly as bad for as often as he put the ball in harm's way. Again, has athleticism to extend plays, but he will never be a true threat with his feet. Overall, I think he's a very solid prospect who has decent upside to be a backup in the NFL. Got a midday 3 grade on him. All right, number 8, Clayton Tune out of Houston, 6'2", 216. Got a midday 3 grade on Clayton Tune. Not gonna lie, went to the Senior Bowl and I expected him to stick out more. So and he did. He just kind of looked like everyone else there. Yeah, they're day 3 guys. I just didn't come away really impressed with them, and it really made me sad. He's a 5th-year senior, used the extra year from Day Rona to return for the 2022 season, and this cat was consistently challenging as a starter. He played 5 games, his freshman year, started in the final 2 because of Derek Keen's injury, and then obviously had to, back in 2019, after Derek Keen went down again, had to step in as the starter and start the final 7 games. And since that season, he's been the starter ever since. And I really do think he's got the potential to be a high-end backup in the NFL. I don't know exactly if he has that starter potential. I was once thinking he could after watching him at the Senior Bowl. But, like, he might not have the hugest arm, but I think he throws with good anticipation. I think he throws with decent accuracy, good precision, anticipation, especially on the short to intermediate levels of the field. His pre-snap recognition is pretty good. He's able to read when and where pressure is coming from. He kind of sets that clock in his head before the snap, and he knows when he needs to get the ball out. Stands in the pocket. He'll quickly go through progressions, delivers the ball on time. There's a lot to like about this guy. Plus mobility, 5 rushing touchdowns on the season. And I think he'll be able to use that to extend plays in the NFL. I don't think he'll be a guy that consistently could win with his legs, but that's fine as long as you can be a bit mobile there. That's going to be really nice. I understand the arm is limited, but like, and he's going to need to put more touch on those passes, on those deeper balls. But it kind of is what it is. He's got a ton of starting experience, so if he can just consistently throw the ball with touchdown field, then I think he can be manageable in the NFL. I really, really do. Again, the arm's more closer to the baseline. He doesn't have the type of mobility that'll shake fear into defenders. I like his mentality, and I will say this, he throws not with the same confidence of Bailey Zappi, but I would say similar. It's more akin to Taylor Heineke, who's just this flinger, this gunslinger, right? But he throws with confidence in his receiver as opposed to Bailey Zappi, who has a lot of confidence in his arm. Like, you know what? I can make that throw. Let's do it. Let's dance. Ah, shucks. I can't make that throw. Opposed to like Clayton Tune, it's like, I think I could put this in the vicinity of my guy, and he's gonna go up and get it. Like, he trusts his guys like that, and I like that. So I feel like he has a bit more of the Taylor Heineke moxie than the next guy we're gonna be talking about here in Jake Haener. Now everyone's gonna make the comp for Jake Haener probably close to Taylor Heineke, but they don't have a similar style and play. It's really the size, and that's about it. Like, Jake Haener, yeah, he's a gamer. He's a slinger, sitting there at 6 foot, 208. But this dude throws with great anticipation. He throws with very good timing. That was on display the whole week at the Senior Bowl. Looked like the best quarterback there. Ended up getting MVP for the game. But man, this dude really does have pinpoint accuracy on throws underneath or on intermediate routes. He can make a variety of throws, whether it's a touch pass or he needs to throw with a little bit more zip. He shows plus mobility. He can make plays outside of structure with his arm. And he's shown toughness, man. The guy played through an ankle injury in 2021 and came quickly back from injury this season to help Fresno State. At least did they win the Mountain? I think they did. Didn't they win? I'm pretty sure they won the Mountain West this year. Mountain West winner. It's them or Boise. I'm pretty sure they lost out to Boise. Show me this year's Mountain West winner. Here it is. Okay, it was the Bulldogs. I thought so, man. Good call. Because I thought it was going to be Boise, and then they just goofed up late. Kind of is what it is. But big thing with Haener, it's size. Lack of an ideal size, the lack of an ideal arm, or at least ideal arm strength. And while he does throw with time and anticipation, when he does miss, they're bad, and there's occasions where he will miss on easy throws. This showed up multiple times, unfortunately, in the red zone back in 2021. There is times where he could play with a little bit of hero ball and make errant decisions. That was you saw that far less in 2022, though. You really, really did. Is he only had what? He had 9 turnover-worthy plays. But that's not half bad. There are times where if he has to maneuver the pocket, he'll drop his eyes. So quit looking downfield. And you just don't want that. You don't want that. You want your guy to be able to make moves in the pocket. And if he has to go outside of structure, he can do that while still looking downfield because essentially, ideally, that's your first escape option rather than just with your feet. Because let's be honest, Haener, he ain't going to be winning consistently with his feet at the NFL. So overall, man, this dude's just a freaking gamer. I really like Jake Haener. Hopefully I didn't call him Jack multiple times. Whew. But, well, I guess we'll see. But I got him as a 5th round prospect. Now let's get into the meat of this quarterback class. Starting with Hendon Hooker, I got him as a top 100 prospect. Had a magical season, was well on his way to winning the Heisman, but unfortunately had the ACL to end his year. I really, it was going to come down to him and Caleb Williams, and it was just very unfortunate. But Hendon Hooker kind of revitalized his career by transferring to Tennessee, where initially he was at Virginia. He was there for, I believe, 4 years. Let's see, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Yeah, 4 years at Virginia Tech. Then he goes over to Tennessee for the 2021 season. Had a banger year, used the extra year from the Rona, and returned and had that magical year. So 6-year senior here, 6'3", 208. And this dude can launch the football. Like he can really heave it downfield. He can push the ball downfield, but he doesn't really throw with a lot of zip. Like I don't think he's capable of consistently throwing on a rope on passes of 20 plus yards. So it's like people often will think arm strength to be like, what, man, this dude could bomb it like 50, 60 yards. And it's like, yeah, but if its hang time is like 5 seconds, then what the freaking heck's the point? You're just going to give defenders time to get under the football or get to the catch point. So like he just doesn't consistently throw with that type of mustard you want to see on passes of 20 plus yards or more, but he is capable of throwing to all levels of the field. He has a good build, and he honestly probably could put on more weight because he was exceptionally dangerous as a runner this past year. He had 566 yards, 5 tutties the year before. He had 43 forced missed tackles. Like he actually shows really good contact balance and elusiveness. He works pretty well out of structure, but he wants to make throws from the pocket. Now, let's kind of get to why we talk about a Hendon Hooker and why I'm down on him opposed to probably more of the draft community, and you'll see other analysts probably have him somewhere from like top 60, top 75 to like early day 3. And he is it's because he's an older prospect. He's going to be 25 by the time it takes his first snap, combined with the ACL injury. Though promising news, sounds like he might be back sooner than anticipated. He's like, yeah, no, I think I could be ready for training camp. It's like, oh, hold on there, Hendon. No kidding. Like he was walking around there at the Senior Bowl, and that was really cool to see. Dude just has a great personality, by the way. Just like someone who is a natural leader and you just gravitate towards. So you love that. Now, the age, the injury, though, again sounded promising that it might come back from that. But being that old, typically your physical tools are tapped out, or at least what they are or what they will be in terms of like your size, your measurements, what your arm strength is. Like again, talking in terms of like zip. He was granted a lot of space, like there at Tennessee. Like that offense was really big on creating space for the quarterback. So instead of having to throw into windows, he's throwing into garage doors. And the question will be, can he? Is that something he can? Will the ball placement be better in an NFL where, sometimes you're having to throw to no windows, you're having to throw your receivers open? Because if you look at 2021, like he did struggle with his accuracy underneath. So it's going to kind of be the big question. He was helped out tremendously from the scheme there. His passes, again, sail on him. Deep, relies on a lot of timing and anticipation. And I mean, I think he's capable of doing that. Like, I think this cat can start at some point in his career. The question is, how good can he be? I don't feel he's exactly pro ready. That's not necessarily true. I think you could start this guy tomorrow, man. You're just gonna have to live with some of the errors. Like, and like in all honesty, kind of like I kind of get Geno Smith vibes from Hendon Hooker. Like, we could, and what I mean by like is that is like I could see him being potentially probably like a career high end backup who could maybe out of nowhere have a top 10 year. Which I'm so glad we can now use that for Geno, man. The dude's been around for a minute. So I think there's a lot of capability there with Hendon Hooker. It's just how high are you willing to risk it with him, opposed to maybe risking it earlier in the draft with guys with far better upside and youth on their side as well. So I really love Hendon Hooker. I was a big fan of him this season. Found myself rooting for Tennessee because as a Hurricanes fan, my team sucked early on, and hope kind of gets thrown out the window early in the year as a Hurricanes fan. So I found myself really rooting for Hendon Hooker in Tennessee, and it was a shame it ended the way it did, but I don't think it takes away for what Hendon Hooker accomplished there at Tennessee. All right, on to the top 5. Tanner McKee. You either like him or you hate him. I don't know if anyone truly loves him. I'm definitely one of the more bigger Tanner McKee fans in this class. I think this guy was a first rounder for me early on. Obviously didn't have an ideal season. Also wasn't surrounded by the best talent. You may be like, I saw what Michael Wilson did in the Senior Bowl. What do you mean he didn't have the best talent? And it's like, oh yeah, fun fact. Michael Wilson played like 13, 14 games the last 2 or 3 years. Guy was hurt a lot. He wasn't on the field. He was having to throw to Elijah Higgins, who was stripped by teammate Caillou Blue Kelly and did nothing about it. That's the type of talent he was surrounded with. And it was just much worse this season. Eventually it did cost David Shaw his job this year. Now Stanford's kind of in this, now we're fighting to become relevant again. But I don't think a lot of that fell on McKee's shoulders. A lot of people would be like, oh, you got to elevate the team around you. But if the team ain't got a lot of talent, there's only so much you can do. Like, he's 6'6", 228. In this season, he had a 72% adjusted completion percentage. So he was fairly accurate. He had far less turnover-worthy plays than he did big-time throws. And like, I like McKee. Like, this is a cat that I think is one of the more accurate quarterbacks in this class. I think close to one of the most accurate quarterbacks in this class, because he wasn't shown a lot of windows and he was having to throw a lot of guys open. And the last 2 seasons kind of had to play hero ball a bit just to keep Stanford competitive in games. It was a tough situation for him. He's got better than you'd expect athleticism. It's not good, though. It's like he's probably one of the least mobile quarterbacks in this class, and I think that's probably why he's going to go down boards. This is why I dropped him down to like a top 75. I think slowly, like I had first round grade, then top 50, and now we are top 75. And I think it's about right, because like you kind of get the Kyle Trask vibes a little bit, but I think his pocket presence is much better than Trask's ever was. And I mean, keep in mind he was having to perform by literally one of the worst offensive lines in college football when it came to pass blocking. I think this dude has accuracy. I think he has good ball placement. I think he's got an arm that can hit at all levels of the field. And we didn't really get a chance to see what he could really become because of the situation. Now, you may look at Junior and be like, okay, this guy should be relatively young. He's going to be 23 by the time he's drafted, or by the time he his rookie year starts. He's actually from the 2018 class. He was the third quarterback behind Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, but he took 2 years on a Mormon trip to Brazil before he arrived at Stanford. Then he had to sit behind Davis Mills in 2020. Then he was a starter from 2021 to 2022. Coaches really rave about this guy's leadership, and he's just a very determined individual. Early in his life, like at 16, he beat skin cancer. You see him wear the long sleeves, and that's because he's a little more sensitive to the sun because of it. But and just like he beat skin cancer, I think this guy can beat his draft value. I think he can be a legit NFL starter, but maybe not one you want to invest highly in, much like we saw with last year's class when you saw guys like Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral going the third, Sam Howell going the fifth. I think he's going to get lost in the shuffle, kind of like those guys did. Again, the athleticism, it's not great. There are times his accuracy can fluster, and I think it's those times where he is trying to play hero ball. And in the NFL, I think he can succeed. He's very good at throwing at spots. I think his ability to read a defense is good. Like, I think you're going to see this guy, like, where he succeeds is a quick passing game where he can nickel and dime it with the occasional shot down the field. Because I think he's really good at going through the process and going through his... What's the word I'm looking for? Going through his... We're just going to call it process. I can't think of it. Going through his motions? No, that's not the word I'm looking for. Whatever. It is what it is. That's what I think about Tanner McKee. Again, people will be like, yeah, I like Tanner McKee, or you just adamantly hate him as a prospect. That's kind of is what it is. All right. Got Anthony Richardson here at number 4. To be fair, my number 3 is exceptionally close. Like one spot ahead of Anthony Richardson. And it really comes down to what position is the NFL team in. And I'll talk about that a little bit more, I guess, when I talk about the next guy on this list. But Anthony Richardson, redshirt sophomore, 6'4", 236, former 5-star recruit, and this dude just oozes tools. This was his first full year as a starter there at Florida. And yeah, it had its ups, it had its downs, but you can't deny the ability. He's the best running quarterback in this class, bar none. He's kind of this mixture of Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson. Like, he's not nearly, I would say, as elusive, as quick, and as like a Lamar Jackson. And while he's not nearly as, I guess, girthy, contact absorbent as Cam Newton was. Cam Newton had a lot of power through that frame. I think Anthony Richardson's just kind of that middle. Like, he has a little bit of this and a little bit of that, while those guys kind of like, you got your power running quarterback and then your quick, fast quarterback. Anthony Richardson is like, kind of like meets you in the middle. Like, he's got a little of this and a little of that. Dude's got a cannon for an arm, literally just like screw you, I can make this throw. And we've seen he can make a bevy of throws, like very impressive throws. He's got an arm capable of making special throws. He throws with a lot of zip, a lot of mustard, quick throwing motion, big frame. There is a lot to like about Anthony Richardson. I know a lot of people bring it up. I was like, well, what about like Malik Willis last year? We saw him fall. Isn't he a guy that had these similar upside and tools? And it's like, no. Anthony Richardson, like Malik Willis, I thought was a good prospect. A guy that was like, he obviously he needs to be a bit more put together as a passer. He's a guy that lived outside of structure. While Anthony Richardson, tools are even better than Malik Willis's. But you could tell he wanted to throw the ball first. Unless it was a design run, he would sit in the pocket for a little bit and try to go through his progressions was a freaking word I was looking for. Kept saying process. But he would try to go through a couple of progressions before being like, well, gotta hit the red button, I'm out of here. Pull in an evac. His accuracy, admittedly, all over the place. Initially, off the small sample size, I was like, I'm not sure if he's inaccurate. I think he's just late on a lot of throws. And that'll come better when you get better anticipation and just like more faith in running the offense. And this year, he was inaccurate. Adjusted completion percentage was 64%. If you don't know what adjusted completion percentage, it basically pulls out all like drops, spikes, throwaways. So how often were you hitting your receivers or giving your receivers a chance to make a play? And he's one of the worst in this class, admittedly. He's going to have to work on it. That's going to be the biggest thing. Learn to be a quarterback and learn to at least put and learn ball placement a bit better. Honestly, the decision making, it was okay. Like, I didn't think he put the ball in harm's way a lot, but I mean, with his big play potential, like, you kind of don't mind him taking those risks because, like, legit, he's a home run threat with his feet, and he will throw guys open downfield. Like, there's just few quarterbacks that can make that, and you're dealing with a guy who will be 22 his rookie season that you can develop. So there's a lot of reason to be excited for Anthony Richardson. Now, number 3 on this list is Will Levis. Again, they're one spot. They're going to be probably one spot from each other on my big board, and large part is because Will Levis is a guy you could probably start tomorrow. Question is, can he get it together between the years, right? And depending on where you are at as a head coach, like, I'm really on the hot seat. Give me this guy with high-end tools. Hopefully he puts it together, but at least know that he's been operating an NFL offense the last 2 seasons. He knows NFL route concepts, and we could throw him in there tomorrow, and hopefully the decision-making clicks. Opposing Anthony Richardson, who you're looking at, you're probably going to sit this guy year 1 as you try to develop him. If you're a coach that has that luxury, you're more willing to take the shot on Anthony Richardson. If you're a bit more on the hot seat, and this is why I like bringing up like maybe a Josh McDaniels, who will be a bit more on the hot seat. You could even say I feel like every year I want to say Ron Rivera, but it feels like he has strong ends to the season that just lures Washington management into a false sense of security. Like, Riverboat Ron's turning this sucker around, and then you come back the next season and you just start like poo again. Washington's weird. I think Ron Rivera is a good coach. Just hasn't had really a quarterback there, unfortunately. Washington. Maybe it's Sam Howell. I hope. But you get what I'm saying with like a Josh McDaniels, who might need more answers right now, or even a Mike Vrabel at this point, which is a shame. He's such a great coach. The offense is just horrible right now. But Will Levis comes into this 6'3", 232. I don't get it. Why do teams like Will Levis? Because he's got a freaking big arm, a great throwing motion. He can throws with exceptional zip and velocity. He's got a sturdy build. He can produce with his feet, legit running ability. Be like, oh, he had like negative rushing yards this season. He had a sucky line and got sacked a lot. Yeah, it happens. Freaking college, they deduct from your rushing yards with sacks. Kind of is what it is. But again, the biggest lure, I think one of the biggest lures, or what makes this guy very appealing, it's not just those tools, but he's coming from NFL offense. He worked under Liam Cohen in 2021 and 2022. He worked under Rich Gangarello. So he's going to be coming to the NFL. Quite frankly, probably ready to operate an NFL offense. You're just hoping the decision making gets better because it was very bad this year. It really was. 13, I believe, turnover worthy plays, and he just lacked those big time throws. But even going back to last year, like his turnover worthy throws and big time throws were kind of on par with one another when he had better talent. Now, really missing some quality guys. Like the offensive line wasn't that good. I thought his playmakers were all right, but you could make an argument that they were a little bit worse with Wandale gone. So, like, what happened? He didn't play that well. He didn't step up. This was kind of the some of the hiccups with like Daniel Jones when he came out. Was like, guy's got a lot of ability, but he never really elevated his team. And I think that's more like push to the front, push to the foresight, because of Will Levis is playing at Kentucky opposed to Daniel Jones was doing it at Duke. So like this is a cat that has a tendency of putting the ball in harm's way. Like he's had bad interceptions that weren't really his fault, but like tipped balls and crap. But if you go back, you'll see a lot of dropped interceptions as well on poor throws. So it's like, can he find some consistency? Can he put it together? Because he is a cat that will go through his progressions. He knows how to do that. He looked really good in parts of this season. The second half of that Ole Miss game was very good. It's like, that's a Will Levis everyone thinks could be like the first overall pick. Problem is, you didn't see that a lot this season. Also, if you want to nitpick, he couldn't beat Sean Clifford for the starting job at Penn State, so he had to go to Kentucky. I like throwing that little stab. It's kind of irrelevant, but I like throwing that out there. I think that's kind of a fun thing. Also, he's got weird eating habits. Don't we all? Not to his degree. All right. Everyone probably should know who number 2 and number 1 is, so let's just get into this with CJ Stroud at Ohio State, 6'3", 218. I'm giving him the top 5 grade. He is likely going to be my 4th overall prospect in this class. Had a banger year this past season, falling short against Georgia, which was a game where some would say he proved his naysayers wrong. Now, Stroud has ideal size for the position. He's got an NFL arm. He's got good strength. It's not an elite arm, but like on a scale of like 1 to 10 in the NFL, it's like a 7.5, borderline 8, which is pretty darn good. And he has shown the ability to place the ball on the money. Like he had a lot of impressive throws. I thought, and people think this is crazy, but I thought his Michigan game was one of his more impressive games. Unfortunately, this was a game where Cade Stover had a few drops on some of the prettiest placed balls by Stroud, unfortunately. But like, you could say, oh, he had all this talent, he was working around, he should have done better. And it's like, I thought he did exceptionally well. Like I really, really did. Like the big time throws were there. He literally would throw his receivers open. I loved his touch along the sideline. He's a cat that can chuck it downfield. He showed, like, he loves the hand in the pocket. Don't get me wrong. He wants to make plays with his arm, but he has the ability to move. Like, he's got good mobility. He has the ability to extend plays. I know he wasn't really good at pressure this year, but you go to the Georgia game and be like, gets the best defense in college football, man. This dude looks fantastic. Like, that was the game where it was like, oh, he can't work under pressure, bull crap. Be fair, majority of the season, he didn't fare too well under pressure, though. But it's nice to see that he can. That's the thing. He was in his second year, full year as a starter. And we saw inconsistencies in year one. You know, he had a bad tendency of just overthrowing everybody. He would even overthrow throwaways. And this season, it was just, again, it just had its ebbs and flows. Like, 1 minute he would crack under pressure. The next, he would have a dart down the field that he threw with good anticipation. Next play, no anticipation. It was like he could be a wild ride in some cases in the same game. That Michigan game was actually a good reference, because like neither of his interceptions I thought were bad throws, but he may have had one of the worst throws I've seen all year where he threw it into triple coverage and it should have been picked. So we'll see. I think when it comes to what he can be, like, people are gonna like the ceiling of Levis. That's why you're gonna see Levis over Stroud a lot. I tend to disagree. I think Stroud could be right up there. I think he's capable. I think I think he's got a good head. He's I think he is, in fact, the youngest quarterback in this class. I'm a big fan of Stroud, man. He's quarterback 2. And of course, quarterback 1 is Bryce Young. I love him. Let's go ahead and get his one con out of the way. He's small. That's it. That's one of the, like, that's the thing everyone's going to bring up. And in all honesty, it's an exceptionally fair point. 6 foot, 194. And there's some doubts that he'll even come in at that measurement. It's going to be a concern. Teams are going to be concerned with the longevity, which we saw him sustain injury this year when he had the sprain in the AC joint in his shoulder in that Arkansas game, where he came down, extended the play to the sideline, and threw it at the very last second as getting hit. Like, they're going to worry about his longevity. I've already seen it in my comment section. Oh, Tua 2.0. Stupid. Tua wish he had this arm. Oh, man. Young, like, I absolutely love Young. He is the best thrower of the football, in my opinion. I think he's got his pocket presence is akin to Patrick Mahomes. This guy, his eyes stick downfield while on the move, while maneuvering the pocket. You could go to the QB school. He does a whole film breakdown, and I don't know how he does that without getting demonetized, because I know I would. That's why I don't put film highlights in here. Sorry, not sorry. I like to get money. But go check out QB School. He has a very good breakdown of Bryce Young versus, I believe it was LSU, where you see how quick of a processor he is, how he surveys the whole field, and he does it exceptionally quickly. And when pressured, that he keeps a calm head, he keeps a cool head. He can bounce around while keeping his eyes downfield. And he could throw with these ridiculous arm angles, even in close quarters. Like, golly, dude, I freaking love him. I think he has one of the prettiest deep balls in this class as well. He could throw with zip over the middle of the field. Some people think his processing over the middle of the field or his decision making over the middle of the field isn't that great. I disagree. Like, I always go back to, I believe, I can't remember if it had to be, it was the SEC championship game against Georgia, where because this was a throw to John Mechie, where he's keeping calm and cool in the pocket, and he just gives a little, because he sees Mechie, he's veering in, but he's like, yo, you go to that spot, I'll put it on the mark, and we're gonna have a touchdown. And they did. Like, this guy's cool, collected. He sees the field exceptionally well, including the middle of the field. I think he's got one of the quickest motions in this class. And you know what? Every game this year he stepped up. Like, going into, like, in the 2021 season, you can make an argument. There were times against top tier defenses, he ran a bit hot and cold. This year, I thought he was exceptionally consistent. And he was doing this where he had less playmakers. You'd be like, well, even less playmakers at Alabama are the best in the nation. And it's like, okay, well, he had one of the worst drop percentages this year. But okay, fine. Let's go with your argument. Listen, man, Bryce Young, he's your first overall pick. Pick it. I truly think he's the exception to this standard when it comes to small quarterbacks. And knock on wood, I really hope that's the case. Because Bryce Young, if this guy was like 215 at like 6'3", undoubtedly easy first overall pick. I love Young, big fan. But that's it for the video. Again, if you want to check out, I can't remember if I said top 15 or top 20. I don't know. I'm going to throw something on Twitter for you if you want to check out. Or you can always check out the Patreon where I have my full evals, full prospect rankings. You can check that out as well. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.